Hello and welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to Valor Fortitude V4, and today we are talking about the new rules for the detachment and how this new rule affect the unit and affect the game, and which solution I have found not only for the detachment but to protect your main unit if you want to screen them in the front of the enemy. First of all, what is a detachment? Detachment is a small unit that now have a profile that is rate of fire, melee and tenacity of 1, and it will represent a company of men sent forward in front of the main army, in front of your brigade. The other rule that influences detachment now is that they do not force you a fortitude test if they are routed, and another rule is that they do not count to the number of unit into the brigade to calculate the bonus of +1 if you have a 5 or more unit, or the malus of -1 if you have 2 unit or less. Let me say that essentially you have to pay, maybe better, use one of your slot in a brigade of, for example, 8 model to put a unit that it doesn't count in any aspect, both for the good and for the bad, and most time is for the good rather than for the bad, and now I'm showing you why. Their actual rules for me better represent the fact that they are a small unit. They represent what where a small unit of voltigeur assembled and sent forward to shoot at the enemy. The same for the Austrian Jaeger, and is the same for the Prussian and Russian Jaeger that I have not the model but cover the same role on the battlefield, and even better for the British, because the British always use a single company of riflemen from the 60th Rifle or the 95th attached to the brigades on the field, and this, in my opinion, is even better than before. They are light infantry, they have open order, but in this case with the tenacity of 1, halving the casualties, it doesn't matter, really doesn't matter, but allow them to move into terrain quite easily. What is their role now? For me, it's practically the same as before. Screening your brigade, and to screen your brigade they can move attached or in skirmish as you prefer. Now it really doesn't matter because they do not halve anything, because they have tenacity of 1, so even 1-8 is 1 casualties. They must be the closest target for your incoming brigade. For every one of them, set aside probably the British, and now I'm going to tell you why. Because they are shaken after 1-8, okay, and you have to test after 2-8, okay, but even if you fail those tests, it doesn't matter for the brigade. You have not to test for fortitude, so they essentially can go without too much pain for your brigade, not pain at all, and as long as they stay, as long as they endure, as a reduced firepower that eat you your main brigade behind them. It's not impossible to combine the fire that one shot goes to them and one into the other one, or more than one, but in any case at least one shot must be go into your screening unit. So retain the same role as before. The same for the Austrian. It's something changed for the British for 2 main reasons. I speak about game and not historically. Not only historical use, because they have a rifle, so they shoot at 18 inches rather than 12. So okay, they can screen, but they also may harass the enemy because they can shoot farther than one, so they can use to HUD firepower, taking cover, occupy terrain, and then have a long range of fire. So they are multi-purpose and some better use than the other single detachment, but essentially all of them are pretty much the same. So in the early stage of the game, especially if you have to move into assault, use them to screen your line. You can open and go in open order just to reduce the line of sight to your towards your unit, retain them into packet one for the sake of commodity to move. Anyway, as you prefer, they do this one. If you are in defense, they are more shooting, and in this case they can still protect from your artillery. Otherwise they can take flanking role, occupy terrain, occupy building, and endure hold until they gone. And when they gone, you have not to cry about it, because no defeat will come for sure for them. Just an addition of firepower, just an addition of your main screen. But for who may in the past use more than one, such as me, or prefer more than one to protect the flank, protect the charges, sacrifice them, and now cannot do this, is still possible a solution. Probably even credible for the French, less credible probably for the Austrian and for the British. Or maybe the British have a different kind of solution that could work. I cover back in a second. The Austrian are the only one which suffer, have to straighten bend the historically of this thing that I'm going to show you to be credible on the field. Staying on the French, the solution to screen your main brigade, to represent the large veil of voltigeur that usually was sent forward before the battle, is this: a light infantry battalion in a reduced number, understrength. Why I say that? Because essentially a light battalion, especially if you understrength them, could represent the combined voltigeur formation sent forward. So are even historically credible, acceptable, and you have a half-string battalion which have a rate of fire of 4, so incredibly effective as firepower, the possibility to go in open order because they are light infantry, so having the casualties, have a melee of 2, and a tenacity of 3 because they are reduced number, so they can hold long enough, they can shoot really well, and maybe use it in attack to protect and harass at the same time, and in defense to occupy terrain and really harass, or simply put back or in front or beside your main line to add firepower to your brigade. Okay, and that's it for the another credible, less credible but still credible way is to have an half battalion of light infantry in the shape of dismounted dragoon, or dismounted hussars, or dismounted chasseurs and cheval. But dragoon is easy to make because they came into the Perry box with 8 men armed with the carbine, so they are treated as light infantry, etc., etc. The same was as I said a second before, and they are still credible as a light infantry maybe less credible in an infantry brigade, much more credible into a cavalry brigade, but I'm back with them again in a second. As I said, Russian, Austrian and Prussian have the problem that using a large unit of Jaeger not sound perfectly historical, but they have lots of light infantry. They have Jaeger, they have Grenzen, so they can anyway have a unit. They had the avant-garde made of Jaeger and Cavalry and Grenzen, so they have lots of possibility to screen the army in other way, more historical. Counter to the British, I say they are not perfectly true that made greater unit of riflemen is not credible, because they have the possibility to make a battalion or an understrained battalion of 95th Rifle or Portuguese Cazadores. And even if most of the time the 95th and the Cazador are packed together into the light brigade, you can easily put one in one of your brigade and represent an assignment for the particular mission. So even though the British can do this, I'm not completely sure that I wanted to use the precious 95th Rifle to screen action when they are so good at shooting and put pressure with the rifle and the British rule when they are in close formation. So I'm not completely sure. Different thing is for the Cazadors, and do not forget that the British have a light battalion mixed together with a regular line battalion and use it together, but they have the rule to go in open order. So all in all, they can use a light battalion in front of the brigade in open order, just to screen and absorb fire. So the British and the French are in a good spot here. Again, a couple of things that I want to share with you is about cavalry, especially with French. I needed to add some infantry detachment made of dragoon, because they are credible. Patrol squadron of dragoon sent forward to take position and then use the rifle. Now is no more possible, because taking just one mean nothing. But as I said, for infantry, it's possible to pack together. This is probably what I'm going to do. So pack together in an understrained battalion of light infantry and light cavalry, or light infantry and heavy cavalry. I have to decide with this. But this can add one unit to your brigade, so it's not too small, because two or less battalion is a problem now. Or maybe two half-trained battalion of dragoon, because in the end I can take 3 away for this and made a unit of 3, and with the spare model that I save I can make 2 battalion, but this is another question. I will think to this later on. Let me say that this is even better, although a little bit pricey compared to have 2 small detachment, but too pricey, but more effective 2 unit of dragoon assigned to your cavalry battalion, cavalry brigade, sorry, to strain their number in the face of fortitude test and add firepower, support, terrain control that 2 units of infantry can add and be credible, at least aesthetically and historically credible for a unit of this way. The last thing that I have to do today is about home rules. So completely unofficial, but sometimes out there are people that like home rules and like unofficial rule. I don't want to explain again, because I speak about this many times. The idea is to use dragoons detachment. The rule is taken from American Civil War and English Civil War, and you can find on the list on the site. This unit here count for the good and for the bad for the brigade composition. So they take fortitude test, etc., etc., but the risk is worth it for me because they are very, very useful, mobile, they can shoot, take objective early in the game, many things that make them precious on the table and make the risk to take it worth it. And that's it. If you like this video, please subscribe if you are not subscribed yet. Press the like button, it really will help. And for the rest, happy wargaming with the new rules, and see you soon as possible. Bye bye.